Welcome in, everyone, to another deep dive. This time, we're going to really dig into self-discipline.
Ooh, yeah, love this topic.
I know, right? It's one of those things everybody kind of struggles with.
Definitely.
And so we're going to unpack, I think, what it really means, the science behind it,
Yeah.
and how to actually, build this crucial skill, and not just for ourselves.
Absolutely.
We've got to think about the kids.
Of course, yeah.
How do we, impart this knowledge? And we've got some really fascinating sources
Yeah.
to guide us. An academic article on self-discipline exercises, a Time article on exercise motivation, and a piece from the Strive website, which is packed with practical tips.
I'm excited to dive in.
Me too.
No.
So let's just start with the basics.
Okay.
What exactly is self-discipline?
Oh, that's a great place to start.
It's got to be more than just resisting that extra cookie, right?
Right.
What's actually going on sort of in our brains
Yeah.
when we exercise self-control?
Yeah, well, so the academic article that we have, it defines self-discipline as the ability to regulate your behavior even when it's challenging.
Okay.
So think of it as using your cool cognitive system to override those hot emotional reactions that can lead us astray.
Yeah.
It's about making choices that align with your long-term goals, even when they conflict with your immediate desires.
So it's like choosing the salad over the fries, even though your taste buds are like, give me something greasy.
Exactly. Yeah, self-discipline is all about delaying gratification, saying no to that immediate pleasure in favor of a bigger, better outcome down the road.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mhm.
But how do we actually do that?
Yeah.
Is willpower like a muscle that gets tired? I feel like I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
But is there any truth to that?
That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
There's a really famous study called the cookie versus radish experiment. And it initially seemed to support this idea of limited willpower. So basically, participants who had to resist these delicious cookies.
Ooh, tough.
I know, right? They ended up having less energy for subsequent tasks, suggesting that their willpower had been depleted.
So if I spend all day making tough decisions by the evening, my willpower tank is empty.
Exactly.
And I'm just like, pizza it is.
Yeah, you're much more likely to give in to those temptations.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the early thinking, but newer research suggests that it's a little bit more complex than that.
Oh.
Even if you're tired, having a strong commitment and believing in your ability to resist can actually overcome that depletion.
So it's not just about having willpower, it's about believing you do.
Exactly.
Okay, that's pretty empowering, actually.
It is, yeah. One study actually found that people who believe willpower was an unlimited resource, they actually performed better on self-control tasks.
Wow.
Their mindset actually boosted their performance.
Oh, that's so fascinating.
Yeah.
But I guess, why does this all even matter? What are the, real-world benefits of being more self-disciplined?
Yeah,
Because it seems like hard work.
yeah.
So what's the payoff?
The payoff is huge. It goes way beyond the obvious. Think about the famous marshmallow test.
Oh, yeah.
Kids who could delay gratification, they ended up having better grades, higher SAT scores, even greater career success later in life.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's not just about resisting temptation. It's about setting ourselves up for
Yeah.
success in all areas of life.
Absolutely, and it's not just about academics. The research shows that self-discipline is linked to everything from better physical health to greater financial stability.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because the Time article that we have actually focuses specifically on how self-discipline helps people reach their fitness goal.
Right.
It's not just about getting to the gym. It's about having the self-control to stick with the workout routine even when you don't feel like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I can muster the self-discipline to hit the gym regularly, maybe that same willpower will help me resist impulse purchases or stick to my budget.
That's the idea.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Yeah, it seems like self-discipline is a skill that can benefit us in countless ways.
Totally.
But I'm curious, what about you? Have you noticed a connection between your own level of self-discipline and your achievements in life?
Oh, that's a great question. Now that you mention it, there have definitely been times where my self-control has helped me achieve a goal, whether it's finishing a challenging project or, sticking to a healthy eating plan.
Yeah.
But I've also had my share of moments where a lack of self-discipline has kind of held me back.
Sure.
So it's definitely something I want to work on.
Well, the good news is that self-discipline is a skill that can be cultivated, like a muscle you can strengthen with practice.
Ooh. I like that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we'll explore next. Are you ready to get into some actionable strategies?
Oh, I'm so ready. I'm eager to learn how to level up my self-discipline game.
Great. Let's do it.
Okay, so we're ready to dive into some actual strategies, for building self-discipline.
Yeah, let's get actionable.
Yeah, where do we even begin?
Well, one of the biggest myths I think we need to bust is that self-discipline is all about brute force willpower.
Oh,
It's not about white-knuckling your way through every temptation.
right.
It's actually more about being smart and strategic.
Oh, so instead of just trying harder, we need to work smarter.
Exactly. And one of the smartest things you can do is set up your environment for success. We talked about how those homeless children were less likely to delay gratification because their environment was so unpredictable.
Right.
Well, the same principle applies to adults.
Yeah,
If you're constantly surrounded by temptation, it's going to be much harder to resist.
that makes a lot of sense. It's trying to stick to a diet when your pantry is full of junk food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So think about your own environment. What are some changes you could make to reduce temptation? Maybe it's unsubscribing from those tempting email newsletters, or keeping unhealthy snacks out of sight, or even just rearranging your workspace to minimize distractions.
Yeah.
So you're making your environment work for you, not against you.
I like that.
Yeah.
It feels a lot more manageable.
Right. And speaking of manageable, let's talk about breaking down those big, daunting goals
Okay.
into smaller, more achievable steps. Remember that research on motivation?
Yeah.
Even small accomplishments can boost our willpower and keep us moving forward.
It reminds me of training for a marathon. It
Wow.
feels so overwhelming at first, but when you break it down into weekly mileage goals, it suddenly becomes a lot more achievable.
Exactly. The same principle applies to any goal,
Yeah.
whether it's saving money, learning a new skill, or even just building better habits.
Yeah.
By setting smaller milestones along the way, you're giving yourself more opportunities to experience those little wins, which keeps you motivated and prevents you from getting discouraged.
So instead of focusing on the summit of the mountain,
Yes,
we should focus on the next base camp.
exactly.
I like that analogy.
It's about focusing on what you can control right now, taking those small steps consistently, and trusting that those small wins will eventually lead you to the bigger goal.
Love it.
And here's another tip.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to reward yourself along the way.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I thought self-discipline was all about delaying gratification.
It is, but remember that study where even depleted participants performed well when they had high motivation?
Yeah.
Rewards can be a powerful motivator, and it doesn't have to be anything big or expensive.
Okay.
It could be something as simple as watching your favorite TV show after a productive work session,
Right?
or treating yourself to a nice dinner after hitting a savings goal.
Yeah, so it's not about depriving ourselves. It's about finding healthy ways to stay motivated and celebrate our progress.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that balance. And speaking of balance, let's talk about the emotional side of self-discipline.
Ooh, okay.
We've been focusing a lot on the cognitive side, but emotions play a huge role too.
Oh, absolutely. I know from personal experience that when I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed, it's way harder to resist those tempting distractions.
Right, because those hot emotions can hijack our best intentions.
Mhm.
So a key part of building self-discipline is learning how to manage those emotions effectively.
So it's not just about willpower, it's also about emotional intelligence.
Exactly. It's about recognizing those emotional triggers and developing healthy coping mechanisms to deal with them.
Right.
Instead of reaching for that bag of chips when you're stressed, maybe you go for a walk, listen to your favorite music, or call a friend to talk things through.
So it's about building a toolbox of healthy coping skills that we can turn to when those difficult emotions inevitably come up.
Precisely. And the more you practice these skills, the better you'll become at managing those emotions and staying on track with your goals.
Yeah, it's a muscle that gets stronger with use.
Exactly. And it's really fascinating because the more you practice self-discipline, the easier it becomes to manage those emotions. So it's like a virtuous cycle.
Wait, so it's not just about gritting our teeth and pushing through.
Right.
The more we practice self-control, the less we actually have to rely on willpower.
Exactly. You're building that self-control muscle,
Okay.
but you're also building your resilience and your ability to navigate those emotional challenges more effectively.
Oh, this is making so much more sense now.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, is there ever a time when too much self-discipline can be a bad thing? Could it ever become restrictive or unhealthy?
That's a great question, and it's definitely something to be mindful of.
Okay.
Self-discipline, like anything, can be taken to an extreme. If it becomes overly rigid or controlling, it can actually lead to anxiety, burnout, or even a sense of deprivation and unhappiness.
So it's about finding that sweet spot.
Yes.
That balance between self-control and self-compassion.
Exactly. It's about being disciplined without being punishing. It's about setting realistic goals, being kind to yourself when you stumble, and celebrating your progress along the way.
Yeah.
And it's about recognizing that self-care is not selfish. It's essential for maintaining both your physical and mental well-being.
That's such an important point.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in like the hustle mentality and forget to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
But self-care is what allows us to show up as our best selves for like everything else in life.
Absolutely.
Including those goals we're working towards.
Exactly. Self-discipline is not about deprivation. It's about empowerment.
I like that.
It's about giving yourself the tools to live a more fulfilling, meaningful, and joyful life.
This is all so insightful. We've covered a lot of ground, from setting up our environment for success to managing our emotions effectively. But there's one area I think where self-discipline is like especially crucial: finances.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we're going to focus on in the final part of this deep dive. Get ready to level up your money management skills.
Okay, so we're back, and I'm ready to tackle a topic where I feel like self-discipline is really put to the test.
Oh, yeah.
Finances.
Big time.
Ugh, so many tempting things.
It's where those impulse buys and those shiny sales can really derail our best intentions.
Oh, tell me about it. But if we could build like those self-control muscles in other areas, surely we can apply those same principles to our money habits.
Absolutely. And one of the most powerful tools we have is that concept of delayed gratification.
Okay.
Think about that classic advice. Pay yourself first.
Right.
It's all about prioritizing your future self, even if it means resisting the urge to spend every dollar you have right now.
Okay, so like instead of that impulse purchase, I put that money into savings or investments.
So,
Kind of like choosing the long-term satisfaction of financial stability over the fleeting joy of a shopping spree.
right, exactly. And just like with those healthy eating choices, those small, consistent savings can add up to huge results over time, thanks to the magic of compound interest.
So even if I can't save like a lot right now, those small contributions will like snowball into something significant down the road.
That's the power of consistency and delayed gratification.
Yeah.
It's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about making those small, smart choices day after day.
Right. I'm starting to see how this all ties together.
Yeah.
But how do we actually make those choices when we're like bombarded with tempting spending opportunities all the time?
Right.
It's easy to say delay gratification, but like it's harder to actually put it into practice.
Absolutely. And that's where things like budgeting and goal setting come in.
Okay.
Having a clear budget helps you track where your money's going. So you can actually make conscious decisions about your spending.
It's like having a roadmap for my finances. Like I know where I'm starting from, where I want to go.
Exactly.
And how I'm going to get there.
Precisely. And those financial goals give you something concrete to work towards.
Yeah.
Maybe it's saving for a down payment on a house, paying off debt, or building your dream retirement fund.
Right.
Whatever your goals are, having them clearly defined can really help you stay focused and motivated when those temptations arise.
So instead of just vaguely wanting to save more money,
Yeah.
I need to set specific targets and timelines.
Yeah.
It's kind of like training for a marathon.
Yes.
Like having that race date in mind keeps me going even when I don't feel like running.
Exactly. And just breaking down that marathon into manageable training runs.
Right.
It's helpful to break those big financial goals into smaller milestones.
Okay.
This makes the process feel less daunting and gives you a sense of accomplishment along the way.
So small wins lead to big victories,
Absolutely.
even with our finances.
Yeah.
This is making a lot of sense.
Good.
Are there any other strategies that can help us stay on track financially?
One incredibly effective technique is actually automating your savings.
Oh, okay.
So set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings or investment accounts each month. This takes the decision-making out of the equation, so you're less likely to spend that money impulsively.
Oh, that's brilliant. It's like paying my future self before I can even think about blowing that money on something I don't need.
Exactly. It plays on that concept of implementation intention we talked about earlier, right?
Yeah.
You're pre-committing to the desired behavior. And just like with exercise, the more you practice of those good financial habits, the easier they become.
Totally.
It's all about building that financial fitness routine.
I love that analogy. But let's be real, we all slip up sometimes,
Oh, for sure.
especially when it comes to money.
Yeah.
So, like, what happens when we make those inevitable financial mistakes? How do we get back on track without getting, like, totally discouraged?
That's where self-compassion comes in again.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up over those slip-ups. Instead, view them as learning opportunities.
Okay.
Analyze what happened, what triggered the mistake, and then come up with a plan to avoid repeating it.
So it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about, like, learning and growing
Absolutely.
from those experiences.
Exactly. Remember, progress, not perfection, is the goal.
Love that.
Celebrate your successes, learn from your mistakes, and just keep moving forward towards those financial goals.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. We've explored, like, the science behind self-discipline. We've debunked some common myths, and we've uncovered practical strategies for building self-control
Yeah,
in, like, all areas of our lives,
I think so too.
from our health to our finances to our relationships. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah, we've learned how to overcome temptation,
Yeah.
delay gratification, set achievable goals, and even automate good habits to make them stick. But perhaps the most important takeaway is that power of self-compassion.
absolutely. Self-discipline isn't about being a robot.
Right?
It's about being human. It's about giving ourselves grace when we stumble and celebrating our progress along the way.
And that brings us to a final thought, We've been focusing a lot on resisting temptation, but what about using that same self-discipline to actively pursue things we want in life?
Wow.
Not just avoiding the negative, but creating the positive.
Oh, I like that.
Something to ponder as you continue your journey.
Wow, what a powerful idea. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into self-discipline. We hope you feel equipped to go out and achieve your goals,
Absolutely.
whatever they may be.
Happy striving, everyone.